Have you ever felt an inexplicable connection to a place you've never been? Or met someone for the first time, yet felt you've known them forever? Perhaps you've discovered a natural talent for something you've never studied, or experienced recurring dreams of unfamiliar, yet somehow intimate settings. Many of us have had these moments, these strange flashes of familiarity with the unfamiliar. In Buddhist understanding, these aren't mere coincidences or psychological quirks. They might be echoes from past lives, ripples from previous existences flowing into our current one. The Buddha taught that what we call life is not confined to the span between birth and death, but is part of a beginningless and potentially endless cycle of rebirth. Each life leaves impressions that shape future ones, creating patterns of karma that unfold across countless lifetimes. But here's a question worth contemplating. If you could actually remember your past lives, not just have fleeting impressions, but clear, detailed memories, what would happen? How would it transform your understanding of yourself, your relationships, and the very nature of your existence? Today, we'll explore this question through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, examining both the profound possibilities and the hidden dangers of past life recall. Whether you believe in rebirth literally or see it as a powerful metaphor, this exploration offers insights that can transform how you relate to your present life. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more explorations of ancient wisdom in modern life. Now, let's embark on this journey across lifetimes. On the night of his enlightenment, as the Buddha sat in meditation beneath the Bodhi tree, he gained 3 extraordinary knowledges. The first was the ability to see his own past lives in vivid detail, not just 1 or 2, but hundreds of thousands of previous existences. In the Bhayabharava Sutta, the Buddha describes this experience. I recollected my manifold past lives, that is, 1 birth, 2 births, 3 births, 4 births, 5 births, 10 births, 20 births, 30 births, 40 births, 50 births, 100 births, 1,000 births, 100,000 births. I recollected my manifold past lives with their aspects and particulars. This wasn't just a collection of interesting stories. For the Buddha, seeing his past lives revealed the patterns of cause and effect that had shaped his journey through samsara, the cycle of rebirth. He saw how actions in one life created conditions in subsequent ones, how attachments and aversions perpetuated suffering across lifetimes, and how the same beings appeared in different relationships to him throughout time. This knowledge was transformative, not because it satisfied curiosity about past identities, but because it revealed the deeper patterns that keep beings trapped in suffering. It showed the Buddha the fundamental truth of karma, that our actions have consequences that extend beyond a single lifetime. If you suddenly gained the ability to remember your past lives in detail, the experience would likely be both illuminating and disorienting. Let's explore what might happen. 1. Identity dissolution. Your sense of who you are, your identity, is largely built around the narrative of your current life. You define yourself by your gender, nationality, profession, relationships, and personal history. But what happens when you suddenly remember being people of different genders, from different cultures, with different beliefs and values? A merchant in ancient Rome, a peasant woman in medieval Japan, a warrior in pre-colonial Africa, a scholar in the Tang dynasty. With each remembered life, your current identity would become just one chapter in an immensely longer story. This could be profoundly liberating. The things you've been clinging to as essential parts of you would reveal themselves as temporary conditions. Your current gender, social status, nationality, even personality traits, all would be seen as impermanent aspects rather than fixed identity. As the Diamond Sutra teaches, what we call a self is actually a collection of non-self elements coming together temporarily. Past life recall would make this abstract teaching viscerally real. However, this dissolution of identity could also be deeply unsettling. Without the solid ground of a fixed self, You might experience what psychologists call an ontological crisis, a fundamental uncertainty about the nature of your being. The question shifts from who am I to what am I, or even am I? 2. Karmic patterns revealed. Perhaps the most valuable insight from remembering past lives would be seeing your own karmic patterns with clarity. You might notice how certain tendencies, strengths, weaknesses, and relationship dynamics have repeated across lifetimes. Perhaps you've struggled with anger in many lives, or have repeatedly been drawn to healing professions, or have often found yourself in complicated relationships with the same souls in different forms. Seeing these patterns could help you understand the deeper roots of your current challenges and gifts. That inexplicable fear of water? Perhaps you drowned in a previous life. Your natural affinity for music? Maybe you've been developing that skill across many lifetimes. More importantly, you'd see how your actions in one life created conditions in subsequent ones, how generosity led to abundance, how harming others led to suffering, how cultivating certain qualities shaped your circumstances and opportunities. This understanding could be profoundly motivating. When you see directly how actions create future experiences, ethical behavior becomes less about following rules and more about skillful navigation of cause and effect. As the Buddha taught in the Kollakamavibhanga Sutta, beings are owners of their actions, heirs of their actions. They originate from their actions, are bound to their actions, have their actions as their refuge. 3. Compassion and connection. Remembering past lives would likely transform your relationships with others. Imagine discovering that your difficult neighbor was once your beloved child, or that your current partner has been connected to you across many lifetimes, sometimes as friend, sometimes as foe. These revelations could foster a profound sense of interconnection. The boundaries between self and other would soften as you recognize the ever-changing nature of relationships across the vast expanse of time. This understanding naturally gives rise to compassion. When you see how all beings have been, at different times, your parents, children, friends, and teachers, the artificial boundaries that separate us from them begin to dissolve. As the Metta Sutta suggests, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love towards all beings. Past life recall might also help heal difficult relationships in your current life. Recognizing that today's conflicts are often just the latest chapter in a much longer story can create space for forgiveness and new beginnings. 4. Freedom from fear of death. One of the most profound transformations might be in your relationship with death. When you've experienced dying hundreds or thousands of times in your memories, the terror of death often subsides. Death would no longer appear as an end, but as a transition, a doorway rather than a wall. You would know from direct experience that consciousness continues, albeit in changing forms. This doesn't mean you'd welcome death prematurely or carelessly. Rather, you'd understand it as part of a larger process, reducing the existential anxiety that often shadows human life. As the Buddha taught, for those who are awake, there is no death. However, this could also bring a new kind of concern, not fear of death itself, but apprehension about the conditions of future births based on your current actions. This healthy concern could motivate spiritual practice and ethical living. 5. The burden of knowledge. While remembering past lives could bring wisdom, it might also bring pain. You would recall not only your moments of kindness and joy, but also times when you caused harm, experienced trauma, or made choices you now regret. Imagine remembering lives where you were cruel, violent, or selfish, or lives cut short by tragedy, disease, or violence. The emotional burden of carrying thousands of lifetimes of suffering, both inflicted and endured, could be overwhelming. This is perhaps why the Buddha taught that such memories should be approached with equanimity, the balanced awareness that neither clings to pleasant memories nor rejects painful ones. As the Dhammapada states, neither in the sky nor in the depths of the ocean nor in the caves of mountains is there a place on earth where one can escape the consequences of an evil deed. Past life recall would make this teaching experientially real, potentially motivating profound spiritual transformation. The Buddha's approach to past lives suggests a middle way between complete remembrance and complete forgetting. Total recall might overwhelm us with the accumulated weight of countless lifetimes. Complete forgetting, on the other hand, leaves us vulnerable to repeating the same mistakes. Instead, the Buddha taught practices that help us understand the principles of rebirth and karma without necessarily recalling specific past lives. Through meditation, ethical living, and the cultivation of wisdom, we can recognize patterns in our current life that likely extend from past ones. For example, the practice of mindfulness helps us notice habitual reactions, patterns of craving, aversion, and ignorance that have likely been with us across many lifetimes. By bringing awareness to these patterns in the present moment, we can begin to transform them without needing to remember their origins. Similarly, the cultivation of loving-kindness, metta, helps us relate to all beings as if they have been our mothers, fathers, children, and friends in past lives, which, according to the Buddhist teaching, they have been. This practice fosters the same compassionate connection that might come from actual past life recall. If you're intrigued by the possibility of accessing past life memories, Buddhist tradition offers several approaches. 1. Deep meditation. The Buddha's own recollection of past lives came through deep meditation. Specifically, the fourth jhana, a state of profound concentration, provided the foundation for directing the mind toward past life recall. While such advanced meditation states require significant practice, even beginning meditators sometimes report spontaneous memories or impressions that seem to come from other lifetimes. These often arise as the mind becomes more quiet and spacious. 2. Dream yoga. Tibetan Buddhist traditions include practices for working with dreams as a gateway to deeper awareness, sometimes including past life memories. By developing lucidity in dreams, practitioners can explore dimensions of consciousness not usually accessible in waking life. 3. Contemplation of patterns. Even without specific memories, you can gain insight by contemplatively exploring patterns in your current life. What inexplicable fears, attractions, talents, or challenges do you have? What relationships seem to carry a weight beyond your current history together? Reflecting on these patterns with an open mind, not jumping to conclusions but allowing insights to emerge, can sometimes reveal threads that seem to extend beyond this lifetime. 4. Ethical living. Perhaps most importantly, living ethically creates conditions for greater clarity and understanding. When the mind isn't clouded by remorse or agitation from harmful actions, insight naturally deepens. As the Buddha taught, moral conduct, sila, is the foundation for concentration, samadhi, which in turn supports wisdom, panna. This progression naturally leads to greater understanding of yourself and the patterns that have shaped your existence across time. While past life recall might seem fascinating in itself, in Buddhist practice it serves a specific purpose: to understand the nature of samsara and the path to liberation. The Buddha didn't teach past life recall as entertainment or to satisfy curiosity about previous identities. Rather, he emphasized how seeing the patterns across lifetimes reveals the fundamental truths of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. When you recognize that you've been born and died countless times, clinging to different identities and experiencing the same cycles of pleasure and pain, the urgency to find a way out of this cycle becomes clear. As the DhammaMirror states, "Through many a birth in samsara have I wandered in vain, seeking the builder of this house." Repeated birth is indeed suffering. The ultimate value of understanding past lives, then, is not in the details of who you were, but in the recognition of the patterns that keep you bound to suffering, and the possibility of breaking those patterns through awakening. As we conclude this exploration, a question lingers. If you could choose, would you want to remember your past lives? Would the wisdom gained outweigh the potential burden? Or is there wisdom in the forgetting that happens between lifetimes? Perhaps the most skillful approach lies not in seeking dramatic revelations of past identities, but in paying closer attention to the patterns unfolding in this present life, the only one you can directly influence right now. After all, as the Buddha taught, the past has already gone, and the future has not yet come. True freedom is found in bringing wise attention to this present moment, where the seeds of all possible futures are being planted. If you found value in this exploration, please consider subscribing to our channel and sharing this video with others who might benefit. In our next video, we'll explore another dimension of Buddhist wisdom and its application to modern life. Until then, may you live with awareness of the vast journey that has brought you to this moment, and may that awareness inspire you to make this precious human life truly meaningful. Underscore, what you are is what you have been. What you'll be is what you do now. Underscore, attributed to the Buddha.